and welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Tegan, and I'm joined with my co-host Sadie.
Hello.
And we're here to talk all about spring, because spring is like starting to sort of happen in Toronto, although it's kind of been like flip-flopping back and forth. Literally yesterday we had snow, and that like pissed me off. And then today it was like 20 degrees Celsius, sunny, beautiful. So it's definitely interesting time, but spring is coming. I can see the plants growing. And so we're going to be talking about all the different ways that you can romanticize spring on a budget, because as we know, the state of the world, budgets are definitely going to be tight for the rest of this year at least. And so that doesn't mean that you don't get to have the sort of magic that comes with spring. So we're going to share some ideas. But before we get to that, we are going to do a connection card.
All right. So we are using the Intelligent Change Connect or Get Closer connection card deck. And today's question says, what is your favorite thing about yourself? Which is a lovely question. I think my answer is how I'm very goofy despite being a very intense person. Like, I love to laugh. I'm very sarcastic. I like to make jokes. I feel like I have fun, and like when other people are around me, they have fun too. But at the same time, I'm like extremely emotional, extremely intense, and just a classic Scorpio. So it's just like interesting how I can be both. And like I can consciously feel myself like tap into my goofy side in like a goofy moment, and like intentionally tap into my intense side like at work when someone's pissing me off and I need to get like all corporate girl bossy on them. So it's just like funny because I'm like very aware of like my almost like dual personality, but for some reason that's the first thing that's coming to mind for one of my favorite things about myself.
I love that. Yeah. I think for me, maybe how like reliable I am. Like I'm proud of that being one of my things, is that, yeah, I feel like in the past I've had friends like reach out for help or support, and they're doing that knowing that I would be there for them. And I think as I grow older and I see, this is going to sound bitter, but I see less and less people doing that, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Then I'm like, you know what? Something that maybe I took for granted in myself, where I'm like, no, it does take, you know, hard work to be a reliable like friend or reliable neighbor or whatever. So I like that about myself, and that it's like second nature.
Yeah. Honestly, I love that about you too. You definitely have like ride or die mentality. So hence why we've been friends for so long. So.
Yeah, you're friends with me, you're stuck with me.
I love it. Awesome. What a cute way to start the episode. I feel like that's such a like fun exercise, like a good journal prompt to like list out all the things you like about yourself. I feel like some people might have initially got into like physical things they like about themselves, but I feel like we spend so much time like analyzing ourselves in the mirrors and critiquing our bodies, where it's like nice to take a minute to reflect on like the type of friend you are, or like your personality traits, in addition to those like physical strengths too. So I don't know, I feel like that could be a really cute self-love journal prompt.
Yeah, I love that question. And I feel like we've had a question that was like flipped, where it's like, what do you like the most about me?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like interesting. Okay, well, let's dive into all the ways to romanticize your life in spring on a budget. And honestly, some of my like most nostalgic spring moments are when I had literally no money. Like I remember my university years, spring's rolling around, I'm at the end. Like my meal card is empty. My bank account is empty. And you know what? These are some of the best like spring times that I remember. And it's because it's not about, you know, the activities you pay for or the new spring wardrobe you're buying, whatever it is. It's about, you know, the moments you make. So I definitely feel like we have some good suggestions here. The first thing for me always is open the windows and blinds. I find, especially here in Toronto, our winters are just so cloudy, so gray. They feel like they go on forever. It's such a bummer. And so as soon as it's warm enough to do it, like open those blinds, get the windows open, and the natural sunlight literally just pumps me up so much. And the fresh air, it's just like nice in your house. It's not just that stale air that's been circulating through your like air conditioner and heater all winter. It's like, get the fresh air in there, get out the bad vibes, and get the sunshine inside.
I love that so much. And you can make it like a full-on Disney princess moment of like, opening the blinds in the morning, opening the curtains. I think my mind first went to like spring cleaning, which is kind of like along the same space of just, or same vein of making your space feel like fresh and like embracing that springiness. But I find my soundtrack while I'm spring cleaning really sets the tone. And I feel like to make this into like a movie montage, I'm playing my main character playlist on Spotify. I have one on like my personal Spotify, but I'm pretty sure we recreated it on the podcast Spotify. So if you guys are looking for a main character playlist, definitely check us out on Spotify. But this is like songs that you'd hear in a movie. Like I'm pretty sure in our playlist we have Dreams by the Cranberries, which is like very You've Got Mail to Me. You've got Suddenly I See, which is very like Devil Wears Prada, like just those opening scenes of these like rom-coms. When you hear those songs, you like immediately feel like the main characters. So it's like, why not bring that energy to some of those spring cleaning tasks that inevitably come around this time of year? And similarly too, I think, Tag, you were talking about like, you don't need to buy everything new just for the new season. But I also feel like I apply this energy to just like switching things up in my apartment. So this year I also have a big goal to redo my home office, which I've been saying literally since the inception of this podcast, since I've been working from home ever since. But in any case, this year I have the mood board, I have the products picked out, a new desk, new bookshelves, everything, new paint color. Like I'm ready to do this as soon as we get back from our Hawaii trip. And I really think that's also going to just make me feel like I'm living in that like main character apartment as well.
Yeah, I feel like spring cleaning definitely can help if you're feeling like bogged down with stuff, or like I always do a big spring clean of my closet because one, like I have seasonal wardrobes just because I live in Toronto, so I always have small closets, so I can't have like my winter and summer clothes all together. And so the time when I could switch out the winter, one, all of my summer clothes obviously take up significantly less space because they're not like giant ass sweaters and things like that. And so just swapping out like the warmer weather clothes for the colder weather clothes can make a big difference and make it seem like, wow, I have so much closet space and things like that. But then also just like getting rid of the clothes that make you feel bad, getting rid of the clothes that no longer fit or that you're saving for, this special day that you just know is never going to happen. So I always find that can be like a really satisfying way to like set up your closet, feel really good about your wardrobe without having to like go to the mall and buy a new spring wardrobe.
100%. I think next thing on my list, this is still a little early for this in Toronto since you said, Tag, like it snows every other day still. That's early spring here. It's not like nice green grass. However, spring I associate with parks and picnics and things like that. So I feel like a really fun, budget-friendly activity to do with friends is having a potluck picnic in the park as soon as the weather's nice to do that. Hopefully it's nice wherever you are. I feel like, just Toronto's the spring is late to spring, but we also, as much as I'm bitching about Toronto right now, we also have like beautiful cherry blossoms, like parks with cherry blossoms. So it's like as soon as those are out and the weather's warming up, people just want to be outside. And what a better way to do that than sit in a park, have a picnic, rather than spending a lot of money on cocktails and a nice fancy dinner at a restaurant.
Yeah, even like switching activities where, you'd normally be at a restaurant or a coffee shop or anything like that. I feel like switching them for an outdoor walk or something can be so nice. Like my husband and I, we always take our lunches at the same time. We both work from home. And all through the winter, we like watch TV shows together on lunch. But then in the month of March, we've been making a point to be like, no, let's go for a walk, actually. And, obviously it's better for your health. But then it's just nice to get outside. And then as the warm weather's starting, it just gets so much nicer. Sort of related to that, one thing I always do is make an effort of switching from iced coffee like switching from hot coffee to iced coffee. And this is something I'll do, like, I'll pick a day in October where I'm like, nope, we're back into hot coffee season. And then we're hot coffee until, March. And I'm like, no, we're back into iced coffee. And literally it's the same cost year round. But I'm like, no, this is special because we're in iced coffee season now.
I love that. Usually that time comes around like May for me. So
yeah.
I can't wait. I love it. Also kind of like in the whole like getting outside, enjoying the nicer weather. I also feel like spring is prime biking time. Like, and why I also put this under like a budget friendly activity is if you live in a main city especially, but a lot of cities have like public bikes and things that are like super accessible, super inexpensive. Here in Toronto, like we have bike docks all over the place. We have bike lanes in some spots. We're not going to get into it too much. RIP bike lanes. Anyways,
it's a touchy subject
for now,
here.
yeah, actually, no, on that topic, get out and use the bike lanes so they don't rip them up. Show people are using them. But in any case, I feel like this is also just a very like springy thing. Maybe if you have your own bike, like pulling it out of like storage from the winter, if you have a basket, like make it a whole thing. Go to the coffee shop, put something, like go to the grocery store, put a baguette in your basket. Like this is the romanticizing of spring energy that we need. Pick up your supplies for your picnic, put them in your basket. I'm not like, okay, no, the bike's not enough. You need a basket too. But no, I think just the act of like getting outside, enjoying the weather, but on a bike, such a cute main character moment as well.
Yeah, I love that.
Sorry, I got so passionate about so many things. This is what I'm talking about. I'm goofy, but then all of a sudden I have these intense moments of like, fuck the bike lanes. Well, no, keep the bike lanes. Fuck.
Yeah.
Get a basket.
You heard it here first. Fuck the bike lanes.
That's not what I meant.
That's so gosh. Funny.
But anyways, back to goofy, non-intense Sadie.
So good. Yeah, I think one thing for me, and this is something I do seasonally, is I create like a vision or mood board. And so what I used to do is I would create like, a Pinterest board of sort of like aesthetic images of
Sorry, now I have the giggles. Now I have the giggles.
So what I would do is make a Pinterest board of like aesthetic images, and I would make this like leading into New Year's. And then I would look at it like through the month of January, maybe like 3 times in February, and then I wouldn't look at it again because I was just like either the goals weren't resonating anymore, or I had looked at it so much it wasn't giving me like that spark of inspiration or like, ooh, this is what I want my life to be. And so something, Sadie, you suggested, I feel like a couple years ago in the podcast, was to make seasonal vision boards, because then it also feels weird to be in January pinning like tulips and things like that. So this is something I've been doing usually every like spring, summer, fall, winter, doing a different board. And then depending on how keen I am, I will then use those images to make my own like desktop backgrounds and phone backgrounds. Because every January I make a custom phone background sort of related to my goals. But I find by this time in the year, like I'm just not even registering the images I'm looking at, where they just have like lost all meaning to me. So it can be really nice to be like, no, okay, what do I want my April, May, and June to look like? And let's make a new, refreshing image that's going to keep me motivated. And then this is also obviously like a nice time to be reflecting on your goals and seeing how they're going. And this, I think, can impact your sort of vision board, mood board. And, if you don't have all the time on your hands, like clearly I do, and you're like, okay, girl, I'm not going to make my own desktop background. I still think it could be nice to like search for a spring desktop background and phone background. Like I know that every girl has a whole bunch of them that they release monthly and stuff like that. So that's definitely an option too if you don't want to spend hours on Pinterest like me.
Yeah, I love that so much. I have my seasonal Pinterest boards, and just like browsing through those or pinning and saving more ideas to them definitely makes me feel that like burst of energy and like fresh, excited, motivated. Yeah, it's definitely a good feeling. I think if you're feeling crafty, another thing I have on the list is to craft your own floral bouquets. And this is a big like TikTok thing. Girls are doing this weekly. They're going to the market, buying all these fresh flowers. I would say this is actually very expensive However, you get way more bang for your buck than just buying a pre-assembled floral bouquet. So, you could spend like $45 on a floral bouquet that's like extravagant and beautiful with many different blooms and filler and, all the things. Or you could buy like individual blooms and like pieces for $45 and assemble like your maybe multiple bouquets, small bouquets, a big one, that sort of thing. So all this to say, it's not necessarily cheap, but you just get a better bang for your buck than buying something that's already made. And you get to, actually customize what you put into it and how it looks and all of that kind of thing. I just think it's a little fun, crafty idea. And obviously spring equals flowers. So yeah, very on theme.
Yeah, I love that. That's always something. I don't always make my own, but always prioritize some type of like fresh flowers because it just brightens up the home, and it's like such main character energy.
Totally.
It makes your house feel like you're in a magazine or something, and so simple.
Yeah, I haven't had fresh flowers in a few weeks, maybe actually since like Valentine's Day, because I had two, like we crafted our own floral bouquets when I hosted a Galentine's brunch, and then a friend brought me flowers to that same brunch. So I had like flowers for days. I had them all over, and they lasted a really long time too, but I don't think I've gotten any since. But this weekend coming up, I have no plans, and I'm like, how nice would it be? I need to look at the weather, but how nice would it be if I got up Saturday morning, walked to a coffee shop, picked up some flowers, just came home, like did some spring cleaning. Like that is definitely the main character energy I want to take into this new season. So gotta just make it happen for myself.
Yeah, I love that. I also have not had fresh flowers. I've been in the trenches, you guys. This new job change. I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I've been fighting for my life day by day. So
yeah, girl, get some fresh flowers. Sounds like you need it.
Yeah, honestly. I think the last ones I had were Valentine's Day, which Tyrell, my husband, forgot to buy until Valentine's Day. And then he was like, did you know roses are really expensive? And I was like, yeah, if you buy them on Valentine's Day, like the day, they sure are. So yeah, definitely need to add that to my list. Even like a plant, if you're not like a flower person, or you're like, I don't want to buy something that'll die in a couple of weeks. I have been taking good care of all of my little house plants, and this time of year they are growing like crazy, so it's a good time to buy.
Yeah, that's actually something else I had on the list too, is to start a herb garden. I feel a herb garden is such a good, either you're just beginning to like get into taking care of plants and gardening, that sort of thing. It's like gardening light. It's also good for small spaces. So if you only have like a balcony, a really small balcony, outdoor space, or even if you don't have an outdoor space like in your apartment, you could have like a herb garden on your windowsill if you have window that gets a lot of sunlight. Like this is such a easy way to like get more plants into your space, and like I don't know, it's just fun. I also find, again, this doesn't necessarily save me, actually no, it probably would save me money, but at the grocery store, so the herb I started with this year, I always start with basil, then by the end of summer it's always dead and I have to start over again. But in any case, I just bought a new basil plant last week, and I can buy like a package of like fresh basil for the week for $5, or I could buy a whole freaking basil plant for $5, which is obviously just going to keep replenishing the leaves if I take care of it. So again, it's maybe not like super inexpensive, but at the same time, it's like just better bang for my buck to just buy the actual plant. And they have all the different types of herbs. So I was like, maybe I should actually start lining them up on my kitchen windowsill. I think that looks so cute. Make me feel like little Martha Stewart, and that is main character energy to a T. So wanted to throw that out there while you're talking about houseplants.
Yeah, I love that. My only herb garden tip is do not plant mint in the ground. It's like so super invasive. So it'll like take over all your other plants. So if you plant them outside, mint has to be in a pot.
Okay, good to know. A little life hack. That's my tip. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Because we have mint like at the cottage that is not in a pot. and she's everywhere. We're making mojitos every night. And she's still taking over.
Can I come? That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's kind of a vibe, but yeah. So that's my only. I'm like not a gardener. That's one of the only like gardening tips I know. So,
wow.
There you go. I think another thing that I had on my list is to sort of like revisit and revamp your morning routine. I feel like when we're getting into like the fall and winter as it's darker, that's a good time to be like, okay, what's the night routine? How do we make things cozy? But now that the sun's coming up earlier, it's all about the morning routine. And the number one thing for me is like trying to incorporate sunshine. And so obviously, like when it's still really cold, that for me is like I'm springing out of bed and I'm opening the blinds. And that, like, it sounds so simple, so silly to even say it, but it does make a really big difference. And then as it gets warmer, being like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to have my coffee outside. Maybe I'm going to do my yoga outside. Maybe I'm going to take a 15-minute walk to start my day. And so just sort of revisiting that now that we're getting out of the time of year where it's like, fuck my morning routine, I'm staying in bed.
Yeah, I feel that on a deep personal level. I find it so much easier to get up in the morning when it's like bright and you're not freezing. It's funny, I've never thought fall, winter's for evening routine, spring, summer for morning routine, but that is definitely how I operate as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I think last thing on our list here is to go for a walk in the rain. And this is, I guess, going back to just getting outside, getting fresh air, all the things we've been talking about already. But we also know that April is a month of showers to bring those May flowers. And I feel like, again, as much as we're talking about like embracing the sunshine and stuff, there's still a lot of rainy days, but that doesn't have to stop you from getting outside, getting the fresh air, opening your windows even. And I honestly feel like such a main character when I go for a walk in the rain. Like, obviously, bundle up, take your umbrella so you're not like catching a cold kind of walking in the rain. But I do find it very therapeutic, especially if you're feeling sad, like just plugging in your like headphones, going for a little walk around the block, maybe a little coffee walk. I don't know. I feel like it can be a vibe. And again, you might as well embrace it since rainy days are inevitable. So just wanted to throw that out there as well.
I love that. Yeah, I'm kind of iffy on the walking in the rain. Sometimes it's such a vibe. I feel like if the weather is warm enough, I'm like, yes. Like, remember that video of Drew Barrymore walking in the rain? And she was like so happy. Sometimes that's my vibe. And it also, I think, depends if I'm going somewhere where I'm like, oh my God, it's messing up my hair. But if it's just like, you know, you mentioned like a Saturday, I've got nowhere to be. Yeah. And then I get caught in the rain. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Main character moment.
Yeah. There's a dance studio right across the house from me. Right across the street from my house. And I want to say it was last fall. It was like 9 p.m. at night. And it was like dark, it was storming, and I just heard these people like screaming and yelling. So I go to like my window that faces the street thinking, you know, people are out there fighting, like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm looking, and it's so hard to see anything because it's raining so hard and it's dark since it's like 9 p.m. in October. And all of a sudden I noticed that the dance studio was outside in the parking lot dancing in the rain. And guys, even right now I'm getting chills, but like I literally teared up because I was like, that is such a main character moment and just like so freaking cute that now I just like, it was that Drew Barrymore energy, but in real life. And I was just like, that is so cute. So it's like, maybe if you're just home and it's raining one night, like just go do a few twists in the rain, come back inside, like low stakes. But they were just living their best life and they weren't yelling and screaming. They were actually laughing and like singing and cheering and stuff. So I was like, that is so sweet. And just thought I'd
so cute.
Tell that little story while we're talking about walking in the rain.
Yeah, I remember being little and like loving the rain. Like it's raining, so I'm like, damn, gotta get outside. Like we need to bring some of that energy into the 20s, I think.
Yeah, I just saw a TikTok actually that was, you guys probably saw this too. It had like millions of likes, so it probably had like tens to hundreds of thousands of millions of views. But in any case, this mom was out for a walk with her daughter who was like literally 2 years old, and it was her first time walking through a puddle. So she had her rain boots on and then she walks through the puddle, but then she's like, wait. So she goes back, walks through it the other way, and she's like, wait. And then she starts like jumping in the puddle. And I was like, oh my God,
so
this
cute.
is so cute. Like to think how, in your 20s and, as you get older, you're just so inconvenienced by the rain. You're like, I don't want my hair to get ruined. Oh my God, it's going to cause like more traffic, blah, blah, blah. But to see like, the beauty of it from the dance studio people and then this little baby on TikTok, I was like, okay, I shouldn't shit on rainy days so much.
So cute.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We drop a new episode every other Tuesday, so make sure you subscribe and follow us on whatever app you're listening to us on so you don't miss an episode. You can also find us on social media. We're at our Golden 20s. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have Pinterest boards, seasonal Pinterest boards, so you can find some spring inspiration there. And we also are on Patreon with, again, journal prompts and like backgrounds and things like that to just get you excited to live your best life this spring. So yes, find us on Patreon. It's also the best way to support the podcast for as little as $2 a month. And I think that is everything. So we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.